Hi, I'm John Likens, and I will be explaining expansionary and contractionary fiscal policies for you. What is a fiscal policy, you may ask yourself? A fiscal policy is the use of government spending and taxation to influence the economy. The United States uses something called countercyclical fiscal policy, which is the use of fiscal policy to smooth out cycles of recessions and expansions within an economy. Expansionary fiscal policy is often used during recessions, while contractionary fiscal policy is used during expansions and growth periods. These fiscal policies don't always work. There are such things as time lags, crowding out, savings adjustments, and other things that get in the way. This next slide shows an economy with a countercyclical fiscal policy and without a countercyclical fiscal policy. As you can see, the orange dotted line is way more smooth than the curvy blue line. The curvy blue line represents an economy without a countercyclical fiscal policy. Countercyclical fiscal policies are there to smooth out fluctuations in the business cycles of an economy. When and why is expansionary fiscal policy used is a good question to ask yourself. Expansionary fiscal policy is done when a government increases spending or decreases taxes to stimulate the economy. This increases the budget deficit and is used when the economy is experiencing a recession. Expansionary fiscal policy in the short run, think of what the short run means. Short run means that some prices are inflexible, or also called sticky, and they don't adjust or change immediately. An increase in aggregate demand from 82 to 81 would be the expansionary fiscal policy effect here. The original equilibrium is at point C, and the new equilibrium from shifting aggregate demand to the right will be represented by the arrow pointing to the left. As a result, the real GDP increases to whatever the real GDP is at that arrow, and there is a reduction in the unemployment rate. The price level also increases from 90 to 95. When thinking about the expansionary fiscal policy, you might ask yourself, why don't we continue printing money? Like, why don't we stop? Well, there are a couple reasons why. The price level will continue to increase, and this is the direct root of inflation. This will cause the wealth effect, which is a change in aggregate demand resulting from wealth changes due to price level increasing or decreasing. When and why is contractionary fiscal policy used? Contractionary fiscal policy is done when the government decreases spending or increases taxes to slow the economy. They do this to pay off the government debt, decreasing the budget deficit. A central bank takes action to reduce the money supply. This is done in times of rapid expansion and growth to stop inflation. Contractionary fiscal policy in the short run, remember that some prices are sticky and don't change. The original equilibrium is at point A. To avoid inflation, they reduce the aggregate demand from 81 to 82. The new equilibrium is at point B. This lowers real GDP back to full unemployment output from Y1 to Y star. This increases the unemployment rate and lowers the price level, increasing real wages. Expansionary fiscal policy in the long run, think of what the long run means. It's a period long enough for all prices to adjust. Resources and other prices rise permanently in the long run. Original equilibrium during the short run is at the pointed arrow. Aggregate demand 1 remains the same while short run aggregate supply shifts to the left. Equilibrium shifts to point A, staying at full employment output where there's a higher price level, 95 to 100. Real GDP decreases to Y star, unemployment increases, and price level increases from 95 to 100. This next slide is about contractionary fiscal policy in the long run. As seen in the short run, we moved from equilibrium at point A to point B. The equilibrium will stay at point B with a price level of 100 unless there's an unexpected decrease in the short run aggregate supply. That would cause the equilibrium to shift to point C, and the price level would increase from 100 to 110. Real GDP is at its full employment output. Unemployment is at its natural rate. Over time, the aggregate demand 2 curve could shift back to aggregate demand 1, causing the new equilibrium to be point C with a higher price level of 110. So what, you may ask yourself? Well, without contractionary and expansionary fiscal policy, our economy would struggle to return to normal when experiencing a sudden growth or recession. Countercyclical fiscal policy uses both contractionary and expansionary fiscal policy to smooth out the fluctuations of the business cycle we experience in our economy today. This helps keep our economy healthy.